Iron rag today. Oh boy, beautiful, beautiful. I am first as a vice president of the National Alliance of Pan-African Seminarians. I want to thank our president, Mina Now, for her vision and her persistence in seeing this service, this needed service, take place. On behalf of NAPAS, as a member of our Iliff community, I'm honored to stand before you in this place, lifted up onto the shoulders of other women who have fought and bore on their shoulders the pressures of standing for the sacred right to be who we are without allowing society to define that for us. As people every day, but specifically today as women, we continue to bind together despite a multitude of races, nationalities, sexual orientations, those that refuse to conform to gender, who are abled in various ways, varying in spiritual orientations, and the list goes on. Despite those pockets of boxed-in social spaces, today we find commonality and empowerment together in our womanness. When we, the women leaders of NAPAS, prayed and searched and perhaps even watched a little TV to narrow in on a word, I know we're not the only ones that watch TV looking for a word, but you never know when it's going to come. But as we searched, it was decided that we use Proverbs, the 31st chapter, also known commonly as the virtuous woman. Now, I initially cringed at the choosing of this selection. Of course I did. One reason was over the word virtuous and its historical undertones that include synonyms such as chaste, celibate, clean living, and pure. Yet in a paradigmatic way of co-creating meaning, as my pastoral theologian colleagues will sympathize, I decided to focus this morning on the word virtuous in other translations, specifically the Hebrew translation, to include excellent, exemplary, efficient, and worthy through character and strength. In this book of Proverbs that spends most of its time explaining the ideal way a man should behave, it ends in chapter 31 with words from a respected woman, a mother, who provides advice to her child, King Lemuel of Massa. Following the end of her advice, in verse 10 begins a poem creatively articulating the image of an ideal woman, one not based on looks but on capability and character. Now, traditionally from where I grew up, these texts and even a celebration of a Women's Day struck tones of a gendered oppression that I've been equipping myself to strategically handle once I leave my safe, simulated world of the Iliff School of Theology. Maybe like some of you, I grew up and or was a part of a particular church and work environment that taught me that a strong woman should not embody characteristics associated with men, such as assertiveness, otherwise known as bossiness, and passion, also known as being too angry or emotional. However, my home and environments outside of a particular church, to include this Iliff home, continue to venture to show and teach me otherwise. This chapter has been interpreted by many in a tone that suggests how a woman ought to behave and look like based off of societal gender norms. However, in a reclamation and meaningful co-creating spirit, I will focus on verses 10 and 31, the translation from the Tanakh, or the Jewish Study Bible. Verse 10 begins, "What a rare find is a capable wife or woman," I'll use in this case. "Her worth is far beyond that of rubies." As a people, and even more so as women, I don't think that many of us wish to or can afford to be predescribed or labeled as incapable. The translation here speaks not to saying that capable women are rare, but rather those that are capable are indeed valuable by their committed excellent character. It continues with the Hebrew phrase, Eshet Hayil, meaning woman of valor, or rather, preferably, strength. Hayil, or strength, refers to strength of all kinds, be it physical or military prowess, and social influence, strength in wealth, or strength in personal ethics and intellectual powers. As a matter of fact, according to BibleStudyTools.com, most of the Hayil's occurrences in the Old Testament appear in conjunction with mentions of armies, soldiers, military forces, valor, and wealth, or rather terms generally associated with men. Thus again, this ideal woman is of deep and solid strength of character. The notes of the King James Version further shares that the capable woman is a multifaceted, because not only is the woman in this context an excellent wife and mother, but she is also a manufacturer, importer of goods, a manager, a realtor, a farmer, a seamstress, upholsterer, and merchant. Matter of fact, she is a composite portrait of ideal womanhood. This tells me she has the strength to wear many hats, as we often do, and we can't afford to fail in any one of those hats. Perhaps you know someone like this. Sort of like a jack of all trades, yet required master of all. Continuing, verse 31 orders us to praise her for her achievements in the works of her hands. Or as the King James Version writes, give her of the fruits of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. In connecting it all, Jana Rice, author of the Twible or Twitter Bible commentary, which is an interpretation of biblical chapters in 140 characters or less, she summarizes chapter 31, tweeting, dawn to-do list, buy real estate, make winter coats, but weave the cloth first. Make family look good, be strong, get Michelle Obama arms. Today I ask that you celebrate with me a past, or rather a foundation, on which we are able to remain steady and thus fortified. We wish to honor a woman in our own Iliff community that upholds and carries each of those reclaimed virtuous descriptors of steady excellence in not only work ethic and commitment, but in her intentionally kind and connected daily personal human contact with each and every one of us. Together, let us honor one of our many hidden figures, a person of talent, kindness, and humility. Mrs. Katie Fisher, where are you at? Mrs. Katie Fisher, we know, is the Iliff School of Theology's Library Circulation and Interlibrary Loan Assistant, otherwise known as Keeper of the Books, and thus one of our conduits of higher wisdom. Her capabilities extend not only through her gifts as our librarian, but also and especially in her character as one who has shown me, and maybe many of you in here, the prototype of a steady, patient, and truly kind-hearted spirit. This gift is for you. If you would hold on to it, Miss Katie, and sit right here in the front for us. Oh, thank you.
I don't see her. Ooh, she is gonna get in trouble. She is not here. Okay. As my grandmother, my mother, my aunties, and my sisters always reminding me ever since I was a young girl that we have power. We have so much power that God knew we needed to exist in the world because man couldn't do it alone. So here we are, be proud. Proverbs 31, verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Verse 30, flavor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Dr. Michele Watkins, who I do not see here, but she said she was gonna be here. She did tell me how many times, and I don't see her. So I'm gonna have to get at her after this. So she recently joined the Iliff faculty in 2016 of January as the Gerald L. Schlesman Professorship in Methodist Studies and Assistant Professor of Theology. She is a womanist scholar, pastor, activist, bred in the UMC and the Black Freedom Movement tradition. Dr. Watkins has a PhD in theology, ethics, and history at Gary Evangelical Theological Seminary. Dr. Watkins, an empowered, strong, brilliant Black woman who triumphs in this world, a courageous spirit who carries herself with elegance, her presence inspiring. She moves in this world with confidence and integrity. She speaks, preaches, and teaches with grace. An extraordinary, sophisticated, virtuous woman with an amazing, tenacious memory. Dependable and hardworking like Ruth, wise like Priscilla, devoted like Sarah, wise and honest like Abigail, humility of Mary, boldness of Esther. Created by greatness, we are grateful for her contagious faithfulness. Dr. Watkins Branch, if she was here, I'm giving this her spirit. We honor you, the present woman who nevertheless you persisted.
I've been crying the whole service, didn't expect to be crying the whole service. Whew. But it's a pleasure to stand before you beautiful women today. And if I can encourage you real quick, if you don't hear anything I say today, please know that I want you to know that know who you are, and please stand tall. Woman of virtue, beauty, power, and strength. Your price is worth more than any ruby. Your value is more valuable than any diamond. Your strength is greater than any baobab tree. Your fruit is more plentiful than any exotic fruit in the world. Know who you are and stand tall. Daniel Marie Child once said, "A woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, to nurture, and to transform. In you reside the fullness of life. In you reside complete unity. In you is the representation of perfect love. Know who you are and stand tall." There is something about the quiet strength that a woman possesses. Nancy Reagan once said, "A woman is like a tea bag. Only in hot water do you realize how strong she is." Likewise, Sonia Sotomayor said, "Don't mistake politeness for lack of strength." For personally, I believe that there is something unassuming about the inner power that a woman holds that allows us to yet persist. In the midst of disappointment, we persist. In the midst of shutdowns, we persist. In the midst of injustices and inequality, we persist. In the midst of oppressive systems and environments, nevertheless, we persist. Know who you are and stand tall, because we were born for this. I always say that in order for us to know where we are going, we have to have an understanding of where we have come from. I know and understand that it takes a village. Hi, Dr. Michele Watkins. She persisted. You persisted and you're here. I know and understand that it takes a village, and we have not and could not have arrived to this point in time on our own. But we stand on the shoulders of those matriarchs who have cried, bled, paved the way, and have passed the mantle so that we may be able to continue to fight and to run this race that have not been given to the swift nor to the strong, but to those that are able to endure until the end. Promised myself I was not going to cry. In honoring our past, we understand that our past is the vehicle that has carried us to this point. While celebrating our present, that we can consider it to be cash in hand, or in other words, vision become a tangible product while preparing for our future aspirations. To embrace the future, for some it is a scary reality because it pushes us into the unknown. However, stepping into the unknown can foster excitement, especially when intentional planning is involved. While embracing the future, I would like to honor a person of great virtue who has become a pillar in our community, an activist, a womanist, a scholar, a poet, a fighter for justice, love, equality, and human rights. Proverbs 31 verses 20 and 26 describes this person to the fullest when it says, "They extend their hand to the poor. They out their hands to the needy. They open their mouth with wisdom, and on their tongue is the law of kindness." Heather Brydie Harris, you are one of the most amazing people I have come to know, and you also exude the most humility I have ever seen. You are the true representation of greatness and what a bright future looks like. We can rest assured that those who have paved the way for us are proud when they see you and your continued accomplishments. Can you join me up here for a minute? As you leave these walls of Iliff and journey onto your PhD program, we want you to be encouraged and always know who you are and stand tall. Know that the matriarchs that have paved the way are cheering for you, that each and every one of us that are here today are cheering for you. Know that we love you. And today as we embrace the future, we honor you and take this mantle and continue to run this race.
So, I'm going to explain what the gifts are. These gifts of jewelry that are in each of your boxes are from the islands. They are carved with the turtle, which symbolize guardian spirits, wellness, fertility, family, harmony, and long life, eternity. And that is the meaning in the Polynesian culture. Also, some of your jewelry has carvings of the plumera flower, which primarily symbolizes beauty, charm, and grace. In the Polynesian culture, it symbolizes natural beauty, representing spring and a new beginning. In the Hindu culture, it's a symbol of dedication and devotion. In Chinese, it's love, Buddhism, immortality. So you are all kinds of greatness, so wear it proudly.
Sorry, I'm back.